In the quiet streets of Bucharest, the city shows its serene beauty at dawn. The streets are mostly empty, with only a few early risers beginning their day. The historic buildings stand tall, bathed in the soft, golden light of the morning sun. Christy and Hanny meet each other and seem happy to see each other. Christy thanks a lady for letting him park his car. She informs her that it's her brother's designated parking spot, allowing him to park without any issues since his brother is currently away. He asks his friend Hadi to join him, and they ride up on an elevator, where they passionately embrace and kiss each other. They proceed towards Christy's apartment. Christy is in the shower. Hadi joins him, and they engage in physical intimacy. Hadi expresses his desire to go somewhere with Christy, and Christy playfully imitates Hadi and asks him to speak English. They both share a laugh. Hadi then communicates in English and expresses his desire to borrow the car and take a trip with Christy, possibly to the mountains for a night. Christy declines, stating that he doesn't believe he can, and exits the room. Hadi reiterates his request, and Christy responds that he has already informed him of his inability to go. Hadi appears visibly displeased with the response he received. His expression seems to convey a sense of sadness. Christy, noticing Hadi's somber demeanor, attempts to offer explanations, attributing the situation to the congested roads and the absence of highways. However, this only led to a confrontation between the two. Hadi bluntly told Christy not to justify himself. After a while, Christy puts on some clothes and attempts to start a conversation with Hadi. Hadi informs him that he can occupy himself by driving around the city in the car while he is at work. Christy prepares breakfast and searches for Hadi, discovering him engaged in prayer. After observing him for a while, Christy leaves. In the kitchen, Christy is cooking a dish containing onions. Hadi discloses that he has forgotten his toothbrush, implying that Christy may not be able to kiss him. Christy then offers Hadi his toothbrush. In bed, Christy tells Hadi that he is spoiled, but it's okay for him. Christy tells him a story from his childhood that he and his sister used to go to his grandmother, who was a good baker, and she used to tell them stories. One of the stories was about how she ended up in prison. During their conversation, Hadi is teasing Christy physically. Hadi asks him about his grandmother's prison story. He starts telling him the story. The doorbell rings and there's a lady Katerina at the door. Hadi and Katerina introduce themselves. Katrina, Christy's sister, brings something for Christy from their mother. When Katerina offers food to Hadi, he says Bismillah before eating. When Katerina asks what it means, he explains that it means, in the name of God. Katerina proudly mentions that it is the first sweet she made. During their conversation, Katerina asks Hadi about his plans and he tells him that he'll fly next Tuesday. He is unsure about his plans during the stay. Christy says that he has to leave in an hour for work. This makes all of them awkward. Katerina suggests to Christy that he should take Hadi somewhere these days, like mountains or somewhere else. Christy doesn't seem to like the suggestion and walks away, leaving them in the kitchen. Katerina asks Hadi about Paris. Christy comes back and Katerina feels that she should leave because of Christy's behavior. Hadi tells him that he's not doing the right thing as she is his sister. She leaves anyway. Christy follows her and they start arguing. She informs him that she only wants to support him during this period, his gay phase. She departs angrily. Christy gets a call from his police squad asking him to report for duty. Christy had to step in to stop a local movie theater's presentation of an LGBTQ+ film because a nationalist organization was interfering. Christy finds this circumstance especially difficult since it makes him face his own hidden identity while upholding his professional facade. There is tension in the theater. A sense of anger permeates the air, and the demonstrators are aggressive and confrontational. Despite Christy's and his co-workers' best efforts to maintain control, the dispute intensifies. As Christy tries to strike a balance between his responsibilities as a police officer and his sympathies for the people being targeted, his inner conflict becomes increasingly apparent. Demonstrators, many carrying anti-LGBTQ+ signs and banners, are gathered in large numbers. The atmosphere is charged with energy and hostility. Christy arrives at the scene in his police uniform, tasked with overseeing and managing the protest. His presence is both authoritative and conflicted. As he walks through the crowd, he is met with a mix of cheers from supporters of the protest and disapproval from those who feel targeted. The demonstrators engage in various activities, including shouting slogans, chanting, and waving flags with anti-LGBTQ+ messages. The crowd's energy is intense, and the atmosphere is charged with aggression. As the protest escalates, tensions rise. Some individuals from the crowd confront each other and minor scuffles break out. Christie and his fellow officers work to manage the situation and prevent violence, but the scene is chaotic and emotionally charged. Throughout, Christie's internal struggle is evident. He is visibly uncomfortable and conflicted as he enforces crowd control. His personal beliefs and emotional turmoil are in sharp contrast to the hostile environment surrounding him. Christie interacts with various protesters, trying to maintain order while dealing with verbal confrontations. Some protesters challenge his presence and question his role in the situation, creating further tension. Christie's responses are measured but reflect his internal conflict. The emotional impact of the protest is significant for Christie. The crowd continues to chant the Romanian national anthem. Christie is confused and leaves the hall. A young boy approaches Christie and inquires about his well-being, asking if Christie remembers him. However, Christie seems disinterested in engaging with the boy and tries to avoid the conversation. Shortly after, another police officer enters the scene and questions Christie about why he has left the location. In response, Christie explains that he found it uncomfortably hot inside. He offers him a cigarette, but he refuses. He starts discussing how crazy the people can go. Christie is confused and asks who, to which the man tells him that he's talking about the people in the cinema hall. The man says that they are lucky to have Onsa, their female friend, around. At least she makes them look at good things. While they are discussing their friend, the boy who met Christie a while ago interrupts them and asks for a spare cigarette. A girl comes there and starts arguing with the boy that she wants to go grab some drink or else she will punch someone. He tells him to wait for a few minutes. A police officer comes and tells Christie and his fellow officer to come inside. They go back to the cinema hall lobby where the crowd is still there discussing the matter. The police are asking for IDs of the people gathered there and no one is cooperating. A girl from the crowd is enraged and arguing with another man that how can he watch filth like this. The man replies that he has a child at home, and when he grows up he'll let him watch this movie. Both are arguing and the police are trying to calm them. The whole crowd is arguing. Some are against the left and some are in favor. Police are trying to control the situation. The boy who interacted with Christie outside the hall is arguing with an old lady. He is in favor of homosexuality. Christie pushes him towards the wall, and the boy asks him if he is going to keep pretending that he doesn't know him. Christie walks away without replying. The crowd continues to argue and fight. Christie enters the cinema hall and notices the boy has followed him. He shows him and inquires about his desires. The boy informs him that he doesn't anticipate much from him, but requests that he doesn't behave in this manner. They engage in a heated exchange, and Christie shoves him, instructing him to leave. It appears that both were romantically involved in the past. Christie pushes him to the ground and both hurl verbal abuse at each other. Another police officer, Alex, comes and stops Christie. Christie makes up a story and tells Alex that the boy was jerking off in the cinema hall, so he pushed him outside the hall. The officer starts yelling at him that he saw him coming into the hall and that he has to be careful because the boy will call the cops and things will not be good for Christie. He tells Christie that he always gets everyone in trouble. Christie says that he has already told him that Stroyer sent him to follow the boy. The officer has sensed that Christie is hiding the truth. Another officer, Moshe, comes and Christie tells him the same story about the boy. He tells him that he slapped him twice. He asks the officer to leave or else he'll get started with him. The officer tells him not to go outside and to calm himself staying inside or else the boy will see him and start again. Christie mentioned that he believes the boy has left. Officer Messier inquires about the basis of this certainty. The boy is currently conversing with Stroyer somewhere out there. While Messier is asking Christie about the boy, Alex comes in and tells him that the boy is talking to cops and has blood on his face. Messier asks what blood, to which Alex replies that Christie has punched his face. Both Alex and Messier are worried that Stroyer will find out about the whole incident. Christie insists on going outside with Alex and Messier, but they suggest he stay inside and calm himself down, otherwise he'll risk his job. Christie insists on going and he makes sure that he'll not hit the boy but just talk to him. Mercier makes him understand that he should stay inside and he'll personally talk to Stroyer. Mercier tells him that he should stay inside and they'll show like he doesn't exist and tell everybody that the boy fell and broke his nose. Christie is distressed and peeks through the cinema door, but doesn't see anyone other than the crowd. A police officer along with a boy comes in the hall, and the boy starts looking for his lost bag in which he claims he has everything, even his ID. He asks Christie if he has seen his bag. Christie refuses. The police officer tells the boy to visit the nearest police station as they have looked everywhere and his bag is not there. The boy leaves and the officer asks Christy what he thinks he is doing. His colleagues are trying to clean up his mess. He tells him that he also has problems in his life, but he never lashes out at work. Christy asks him about the boy and if he is badly injured. He tells him he has some blood on his face. Christy asks about Mercia. The officer yells that he is not the encyclopedia who knows the answer to everything. Christy asks the officer why he escorted the boy to the cinema hall when he could have come alone. He asks if he wants to see if I'm still in here or left. Christy is angry and yells at the officer as to why he isn't allowed to go outside and talk to the boy himself. He will ask him about his problem. He tells him that Alex and Mercia are not even replying to his texts. Why is he locked up in here? He tells him he is going to talk to the boy. The officer tells him not to create a problem. He decides not to go. Christy is in the cinema hall, visibly tense and distracted. He struggles to keep his composure as the protesters outside the cinema become more vocal. The demonstration is against the screening of a film with LGBT+ themes, and the tension inside the cinema hall mirrors Christy's internal conflict. Mercer, sensing Christy's distress, initiates a conversation. He shares the story of Lola, the stray dog, in a calm and soothing voice. Mercer intends to provide comfort and a sense of understanding to Christy, who is grappling with his issues of belonging and identity. He tells the story of a dog Lola whom he and his wife found, and it was covered in some kind of rash. His wife insisted to take the dog home and feed him. When the building's door opened, the dog rushed towards the door of the apartment that belonged to a crazy old lady. The dog must be her pet. When she came out, she refused to take the dog by saying she got rid of the dog and now they bought him back. Both Mercia and his wife get sad and his wife insists on taking him home. They took him home, fed him, and he slept on a couch. The next day, Mercia asked his wife to get rid of the dog as he doesn't want disease in his house. His wife unwillingly agrees, takes the dog outside, and ties him to a tree with a note, "I'm looking for a home." They also tied his rash shampoo and other stuff with him. When they came back home, Mercia's wife cried badly for that dog and they had to go back to him only to see that the dog was not there. Then back at home, they got a call from a friend of the crazy old lady who told them that the lady told her they had a dog. They tell her the whole story. But his wife was shattered because of this whole incident. He says he hopes she'll get over it. Christy says the same and thanks Mercia for making him feel relaxed. Mercia leaves. After some time, Christy rushes towards the exit door, but Stroyer pushes him back and they get into an argument. When Stroyer leaves, Claudia tells Christy that the boy out there is telling rubbish about the cops, that you like boys and you guys were dating. Later he tells Christy that he has sensed the truth, but it will remain between the two of them, he promises. All the cops members get back into their van and stop at a place to eat something. To avoid the awkwardness for Christy, they started discussing one of the officers' shoes. Christy gets a call from Harley, and he talks to him, hesitantly telling him to eat the stuff her sister brought from the fridge and he'll tell him when he'll get home. This conversation is crucial as it represents a connection to his true self, but Christy, aware of his surroundings and the possible consequences, speaks cautiously. On their way back, Mercia suggests Christy not to react when anything happens. He should come to him and talk to him. He says they are lucky to have Onasa who handled the situation. Christy tells him to pull over the car as he wants to get out. He stops the car. Christy walks towards his apartment.